Yeah. So kind of to go with what I was talking about before. Like it seems like I have this little fear that I'm gonna run out of money before I have finished fixing this house up for my retirement.
Hmm.
Because the things that we're trying to do turn out to be more expensive than expecting it to be. And so I've been still working, and I still have some time before I'm gonna retire. But I'm making myself tired just looking at how much more needs to be done, kind of thing,
Hmm.
right? And I had the thought, I wonder if I'm kind of putting myself through an unnecessary hell here.
I wonder.
Gee.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, would you
yeah,
like to do the work on it?
I would. And in the voice in my head, I keep going through, okay, I have this much, it costs that much. I have this much, it costs that much. So I think the
Yeah.
worry is that it's going to end up costing more than I have, you know, or something like that. I'm not sure where to go with the statement.
Okay. Yeah. So I've heard a couple of different versions from you. One is I'm going to run out of money
Mhm.
before I finish fixing the house up before I retire, and the other is it's going to end up costing me more than I have.
Yeah,
So which one
which
feels
would
closer to
result in me
you?
having to work a lot more.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. They're both pointing at the same exact
pretty much,
issue,
pretty
right?
much.
So which one feels
The one,
closest to it?
well, that I'm gonna have to, because I wouldn't run out of money. I would work more.
I see.
So I'm just gonna have to work more than I want to in order to prepare the house for retirement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that's kind of a third version is I'm going to have to work more to prepare the house
Yeah.
for retirement. The other is it's going to end up costing more,
Oh, yeah. It's gonna end up
and the other
costing
is
more, which
I'm going to
results
run
in
out of
having
money.
to work more.
Yeah.
And something
So
costing more means working more to me.
I hear you. I hear
Okay.
you. Okay. So then you're going to have to
I'm
work
never
more.
going to be able to retire.
Yeah, that's what it really comes down to. I'm never going to be able to retire. Okay.
There we
So
go.
is
Yeah.
that true?
No, no, eventually I'm just going to. Yeah.
So, how do you react when you see all these cost overruns and projections and you and you're thinking you're never going to be able to retire because of this house?
In a couple different places. One of them, it goes to, there's like, which could be another worksheet as well. I'm going to be still working, and I'll end up so old I have dementia, and everything I won't be able to work. Even
Hmm.
though I still need the money, I won't be able to retire, and I'll work myself to. The pictures are working myself to death, you know,
Yeah.
or um, working myself into an illness, or having some unnecessary comfort become more important. It's like losing my sanity of what's basically important, what I really need. It goes off in like 10 different directions at once. And that's why it's so hard to come up with a statement, right? Because
Mm.
as soon as I think in terms of one thing, I see all these other possibilities. So, um, yeah, like I have to stay healthy. There's all these, when I think I'll never be able to retire. It's like, oh no, yeah, I'll end up working myself to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll never be able to retire. Where do you feel that in your body?
My shoulders drop. I get heavy. I get tired. I just want to sit. I come home from work, and all the way driving home, I'm thinking, oh, when I get home, I'll get up, I'll go for a walk, I'll take the dog for a walk, I'll do something, like, and then I walk in the house and I just come sit on the couch.
Mm, yeah. And what does your mind do with this whole project of renovating the house when you're thinking, I may never be able to retire because these costs keep increasing?
A, a variety of pictures of the having to find a way to live in it, in the in whatever condition it's in, which is weird because I'm the insanity of this whole question and where my mind goes takes me into a past condition of the house. And I've already updated parts of the house. And in my mind, when I picture that, I see it in its old condition before it's even like, it doesn't even look like that now. That's how
Mm.
insane the pictures get. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes me
Yeah.
into an another world that's not the current world. Wow. Into circumstances that can't happen.
Amazing, right? You go on a little trip. Yep.
Exactly. And I totally forget that, I have a husband, I have other resources. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just when I'm in that state, it's just me in the past in some dilapidated place that I can't do anything about.
Yeah.
So that's the
Plus,
pictures I get.
yeah. Plus, you've already got dementia, and
Right,
you can't
right?
really work.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. with no money, no energy,
Right.
eating
Right.
bugs.
And no wonder you can't get off the couch. You've been you've been swamped by some major images here.
Exactly. And when I'm not having the thought, I have plenty of energy and everything is fine and I'm
Hmm.
excited about it. But as soon as that thought comes in, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Well,
like,
that's what we're looking at, right? The effect of
right,
the thought on you. It's tangible. It's noticeable.
yeah.
So who would you be without the thought? You're never going to be able to retire.
I'd be more present in the reality that I'm in. Um, I'm still young. I'm still healthy. I still have lots of work. I make decent money. My husband does too. We're happy in the house. It's still in good condition. There isn't anything that if it needed being done, we couldn't do ourselves if necessary.
Mm.
It would just be a matter of the amount of time and effort to do it. But none of those conditions actually exist.
Amazing.
It's just you just
Amazing.
see this number going high, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, ah,
Yeah,
and it's like, well, yeah, that's still doable, maybe even negotiable. Without the thought, it's like, well, let me see if I can negotiate something.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and if
yeah,
not, then I'll just spend more money. I'll just take on, even if it means taking on a little bit more work to do that. Something's being delivered. Yeah.
yeah. So it's quite clear the difference there between with that thought and without that thought. With that
Hmm.
thought, this huge imagery and stress, and without it, it's kind of like
It's
doable,
workable.
right?
It's workable. Yeah. and not even, the thing I want to do right now, the new roof, like I said, there's nothing wrong with the one we have right now. Not leaking,
Mm,
there's no urgency,
right.
and it doesn't require any, you know it doesn't have to be an expensive roof. I mean, there's options.
Yeah.
So a turnaround, huh?
All right. So how would you turn this around? I'm never going to be able to retire because of all these costs of the house.
Hmm. I I could retire whenever I feel like it. I can retire when I feel like it, when I'm ready to retire.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look if there's see if there's any examples of how that could be true in reality.
Um, my retirement doesn't have to mean that I couldn't earn money. I could retire and still, there's a Social Security in the U.S., which I would be able to collect that. I can collect it now, but it'll be more in next year. And I'm still capable of doing the work that I'm doing, for which I make decent money. So, I can retire. It doesn't have to be soon. It could, I could work until I feel like I have made enough or saved enough and then retire.
Mm-hmm.
I could also find alternate ways of maintaining the house, which are less expensive.
Yep. Like, what are some of those options in case you were to explore them?
Um, well, the example of being the roof, um, I could hire, local guys to do it for a lot less than a big company, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
right.
Worst case scenario, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it now. If it were to start leaking, there's plastic everywhere. You just go up and patch a leak,
Yep.
nurse it
Yep.
along. You can nurse a roof along for a long time.
True.
Yeah. So there's nothing that could happen to the house that could not it be repaired in some way. And if the house burns down, I do have insurance.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we're looking at all possibilities here, right? It's
Right. I mean,
not
all the
that you're
way
looking
from
to.
a little bit of damage, all the way to nothing left. If everything is replaceable, I
Mm.
prefer to keep the husband and the dog alive. That would be a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be able to retire even with this house and all of its expenses.
Yeah.
One is reducing the expenses a little bit, different ways, like you just mentioned with the roof. The other is working a little longer. It doesn't have to be complete retirement. Any
Yeah.
other ways that you might be able to even retire completely in case you wanted to and still
Still
have
maintain.
enough?
Hmm. I mean, I do have other resources available. This is a tight knit community. Everyone pitches in and helps each other. So, there's like I'm not. I have a husband who's very competent and can fix things, and so it's like all of a sudden I'm not alone. When I have that
Yeah.
thought, all my everything, the insanity ensues, and all the existing resources suddenly disappear, and it's just me facing this. And then it's without the thought, it can't even get to the place where I'm afraid of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So I am going to be able to retire. I don't know if there are any other turnarounds, but take a look.
Um.
I'm never going to be able to retire. That's the original statement.
I'm. I may not want to retire.
Ah, that's a cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I may enjoy fixing up the house so much that I may actually decide that retirement isn't necessary, and I
Mhm.
like what I do enough that it's not like I'm looking forward to stopping. And there are a lot of different branches in what I do that I could branch off into something less physically demanding as I get older.
Mhm.
So consulting, or something like that.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
may not ever need or want to retire.
Yeah, this story of retirement is just a big story. Like,
Yeah,
oh, then I won't have to do anything. I'll just be completely free. Um,
it is a story.
and right,
Yeah.
uh, but it's a story. Like, who
Yeah,
would you be
it's like
without
you
that
reach a
story?
certain age and suddenly it's like it becomes an option, but it's certainly not a requirement.
Right, right.
Uh,
So that story, as good as it is, puts a lot of pressure because now I've got to really push to make sure I have all the money and make sure the house is taken care of and all the like.
I was
So
like,
now it's like make yourself miserable now so that you can have the story of not
happening.
doing anything.
That's what I've been doing. I've been accepting all this work because it's like, oh, if I just get it all done and I take all this work now, then I'll be able to make this much money by that birthday, and then I can retire, right?
Right,
And it's
right,
like, why do it doesn't have to be on that birthday. It can be
right.
another year from there, another 2 years from there. It's just at that time I can collect this maximum amount that I would have. But even that, it's like, yeah, I don't have to retire.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
this opens up like just completely different options. Now it's like I can retire. I could retire and still have enough to work the house because it doesn't have to be the most expensive job
Hmm.
on the house. And I could just not want to retire, and that's also fine. The house could be a project that goes on for years, and where's the problem if I enjoy working?
Yes, exactly.
So it's
Oh,
amazing how the mind like creates this problem and then like gets completely overwhelmed by it.
and
But it's
adds a
all,
deadline.
yeah, completely.
Yeah, I actually have. Okay, I have to just show you this. I have been putting in my calendar every day how many days and where is it? How many days until I retire?
Yeah. Yeah. Like a prisoner scratching on the wall, like, oh yeah, 113.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like my
That
life
is
begins
arbitrary.
then.
And
I'll
it's
just I'll just hold my breath until I'm done. Then I'll be free.
right.
It's
But
like,
it's
who
so
would you be?
funny. I mean, the funny part, I consider myself a relatively intelligent person, and then I
Hmm,
have this thought which eliminates all normal processing that doesn't make any sense. But in the thought, I the believing the thought. There's no thinking.
right. It's just a want. I
Right.
want to be free, and then I equate retirement with freedom, and I have to do these things before I can retire. So I build this whole story that to
Right.
get what I want, I'll have to do these things. But
And it even starts out as something fun, like, oh, let's put a project goal date for something, but then it becomes panicky if,
right,
oh my god, we do that to ourselves.
right, exactly. Yeah. No, I used to do that with my projects in my business. I'd be like, oh my God, deadline, deadline. I'm gonna make this big thing happen by this date and put a lot of pressure on myself. And then it just kind of did some work like this. I'm like, why am I doing that to myself? I can just do this and see how far it goes. And maybe it never finishes, or maybe it finishes on this schedule, not, and it feels so much more relaxed.
Yeah,